So here was the plan. We were going to start out at the mouth of the canyon. That was going to be our last landing zone. And we were going to drive up the canyon and do 3 flights and hike up 3 different ridges and come out at the end of the canyon. We placed 3 cars strategically. The first one was Sean's car at Upper Rich Bar. And then we put Nick's car at the bottom of Lucas Creek. It is right there. And then we drove up and we put my car right here by Democrat Hot Springs. From Democrat Hot Springs, we were going to climb up this ridge. I think it was 2,600 feet. And it was to a launch that I was not sure was going to happen. And this is the possible launch. From here, we were going to go ahead and fly off and hit a landing zone that I haven't landed at before. It looked promising. From there, we are going to go ahead and climb up this ridge. And after we climbed up this ridge, we are going to fly off and head to Upper Rich Bar. From there, we're going to shuttle some cars, put one car down at the bottom of the canyon, and come back, climb up this ridge right here. I think it's about 4.38 miles. After we got to this point, we're going to fly off and then get to a car that we had shuttled. So after we parked my car, Sean and Nick and I went ahead and moved from the cattle pens. And there's a little bit of a little trail, a little cow trail that they herd the cows down from Cow Flat Road to the cattle pens, and so we followed that up to Cow Flat Road. This was the road that was locked by a gate, so Nick would have had to get the gate unlocked in order to drive on this road, Cow Flat Road. And from the road, you head up the ridge. As you start moving up the ridge, there's a clear spot, the little Jeep trail right there that looks like a real good Jeep trail is totally overgrown. So this is a little bit of an old Google Earth. And you keep climbing up the ridge, go past a couple of cliffs, and just continue up this ridge. There's like a little dip right here. And then we went ahead and went up to what we thought was a possible launch. We got up to the possible launch, and it was possible to launch from there. So we went ahead and set up our paragliders. And as we were setting up our paragliders, it was about, I don't know, about 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. The winds were coming in the correct direction, which is to my back right there. And you need to launch into the wind. Now, Sean ended up going first, and he actually landed down at the road that we drove up. So he landed on the paved road. He hitchhiked back up, and he got my car, and then he switched my car with his. The wind switched from the wrong directions in, and Nick and I were stuck there for another 2 or 3 hours waiting for the wind to come in the right direction. This is Sean launching right now, and once again, he should have landed in the little brown spot a little down to his left, but he was having a little bit of problems with thermals, that's rising air because of convection, so he landed down by the road, came back up, got my car, switched it with his. So the question is, I hit the landing zone, and I have 5 fractures in my back. So I could walk out, I could still walk, or do I send Nick down to his car? And we do not have cell reception, so do I send Nick down to his car? He's never been down that ridge before. Or do I send him back on the road to where I know there's cell reception, and that's the gate to the road that he could drive on? Which one do we do? So the first one would entail Nick going down this ridge. Once again, he's never been down it before. It's starting to get dark, so there's a chance that he could get lost. Do you take that chance? Or do you send him back on the road to the car where there's not a car anymore. And so this is a view going down the ridge from Google Earth. Now, Nick did not have this view of going down the ridge, but he would have to get on the road, and he would be going towards his car. And once he got to a certain point, he would have to head down the ridge. Now, I will say that Nick is very experienced in the mountains, and even though he's never been down the ridge before, I had confidence that he could make it. But if he gets injured, then no one is going to really know where I'm at. And this would be taking a little bit of a chance right here. There's no trail. There's little cow trails going back and forth across this thing, but there's no real trail to take you down to where you need to go. So that is the first option. The second option is to go from where I had my accident and just follow the road back. Now, Sean had taken off before us, and he had hitchhiked up to my car, and he had switched my car out with his car. But Nick would have to follow this Cow Flat Road back to the start of the road where you can actually access it. Now, this is 4 miles back to the start of the dirt road and where it meets the 178 highway that we came up. You can see the 178 down and below on the left. That's 4 miles. Or do I have him go down the ridge? Now, when he got to the end of that, I thought I would show you guys what a typical paraglider flight looks like, and this would have been pretty close to what our second flight would have looked like if we were able to make a second flight. Of course, I was injured, so the second flight never happened. You take off into the wind, and it inflates your wing, and that is your paraglider. And what I'm doing right now is I'm going back and forth along this hill. The wind is actually coming up the canyon, and so it's coming up the hill, and it's pushing up against my wing, or my paraglider. So I can go ahead and stay on this ridge for as long as the wind is coming up the hill, and I should be able to stay up in the air. If the wind stops, I'll have to start moving down the hill and find a landing zone. Now, if I want to make a turn, I can go ahead and pull on that left toggle in my hand, and it goes ahead and warps my wing, causes more friction on the left side, and so the left side goes slower, the right side goes faster, and that's what causes a paraglider to turn. I'm coming back for another round on the ridge, and because the air is moving up the ridge right there. Now, that's from my helmet cam. It's a little bit smoother platform, and then this is from my chase cam right here. I want to go ahead and turn right again, so I pulled on my right toggle, and that warped the right side of the wing, once again causing it to fly slower. And so when the right side flies slower, the left side flies faster, and that's how you turn. I'm coming up right now on a feature that we call the Tower of the Setting Sun. Wind is coming up it, so I should be able to go back and forth on it as the wind is moving up the canyon and then moving up the hill and pushing my paraglider up. So I'm able to stay up in the air for a bit longer because the wind is moving up the hill. And if I stay close to the hill, then I'm going to be staying close to that rising air. The air is also rising because the sun is heating it up. And as the sun heats it up, it's just like when you put a boiling pot of water on the burner, or you actually put the water on the burner and then you get the pot to go ahead and start boiling. If you look very close at a boiling pot of water, you can see the the water is moving from the bottom of the pan to the top of the pan because liquids rise and also fluids rise. As the sun goes ahead and heats up the earth, it's just like that pot of water, and the air goes ahead and moves up from the earth, and that's what also can push up my paraglider. This is starting to get towards evening though, so the places that the shadows are on the mountains, they're no longer warm, and so the air is actually starting to sink or go down the hill there because the air is cooler. Hot air rises, cold air sinks. This is what you should have learned in convection in the 7th grade with Mr. Stevens and Mrs. Slinker. Now I'm coming around here, and what I need to do is find a place to land. Now once again, this would be a typical good landing without being injured and without missing a lot of work. So I'm flying around, and I'm coming around looking for a nice landing spot. The sun is in my eyes, so you got all this electromagnetic energy coming from the sun that's millions and millions of miles away. It takes 8.5 minutes for the light to get to the earth, and so and as the earth is turning right now, it's getting the sun to go lower on the horizon. Now as I am coming in to land, I'm going to land in that big field to the upper left of me. I'm going to go ahead and have to reduce some height because you need a typical angle to land. So I need about a 7-to-1 angle to land, and you can talk to the math teachers about what a 7-to-1 angle is, or you guys should know that by now. So I am trying to get that 7-to-1 angle because that's how much I'm dropping down. So for every 1 foot that I'm dropping down, I'm going 7 feet forward. So if I was 1,000 feet up and I launch off a hill, I could go 7,000 feet forward before I actually have to land. I'm waving at some people because they're honking at me, and normally I land on that road to the left, but today I decided to go ahead and land in the meadow. Right now I'm not getting any lift at all. Everything's in shadow. So the cold air is actually sinking from both sides of the mountain, and it's getting a little bit of a push up from the road, but not enough to keep me up. So once again, I want to find that very good glide angle to go ahead and land, and once again making my turn, warping the left side of the wing, right side's coming around, and coming into the meadow for a landing. And once again, this is what a typical paraglider flight looks like. What I want you guys to do is to figure out, is it better for Nick to go down the ridge, or is it better for him to go on Cow Flat Road? That is the question. Good luck trying to solve that, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Later on.
Woohoo!
Be safe from the old coronavirus.
Another day. Thank you, Lord. Woohoo! That was a mellow ride.